Hello everybody, my name is James, hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about more information that's been revealed on Oscar Piastri's crash in Melbourne, as well as an update on Fernando Alonso following Aston Martin's unusual Australian Grand Prix. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Formula 1 content. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram and X at James's Pit Lane. I'll leave links in the description, but let's jump straight into the video. So let's start with Aston Martin, and while their problems with the Honda power unit has been well publicised and the team are struggling for pace. I mean, they're setting times that are only good enough for the back of the grid, and on top of that, throughout 2026 their mileage has been really limited. Now, prior to the weekend, Aston Martin team boss Adrian Newey revealed that because of vibrations from the Honda power unit, both Alonso and teammate Lance Stroll risked nerve damage in their fingers as a result, and Newey said that Alonso felt he could do no more than 25 laps, with Stroll saying he felt his maximum was 15. And while the team ended up having an unusual Australian Grand Prix, with it being very stop-start. Basically, Alonso initially retired before rejoining the race shortly afterwards, before stopping for good on lap 21 of 58, and Stroll also rejoined after stopping and completed 43 laps, finishing in a non-classified last place. So yeah, Aston Martin were on track, going back into the garage, then going back out again. It's very unusual for that to happen, and we saw them being multiple laps behind as a result. Now, when asked about his physical state following Newey's revelation on Thursday of the vibrations, Alonso explained that the vibrations were still not fully resolved, with Alonso saying, as quoted by Racing News 365, "It's similar to Bahrain, and it's not the best feeling with this level of vibration. I think Honda thinks the vibrations on the battery are reduced since Bahrain with some of the modifications, but that hasn't happened to the chassis yet because they need to isolate the battery in a different way. So I think it will take a little more time, but we will try to do our best in China and do as many laps as possible to help the team. It will be no different, so I expect another tough weekend, but we cannot give up. We need to keep trying different solutions, especially on the chassis, to try to get the package better because we're not optimizing anything, so China will be another good opportunity." So yeah, difficult times for Aston Martin at the moment, and I think they'll also continue to struggle at the next race in China. But let's move on to Oscar Piastri, who had an absolute disaster of a Melbourne Grand Prix. I mean, it never even happened, with him crashing out before the race even began. Now, this is Piastri's home Grand Prix, and he'd been doing a decent job all weekend. But when Piastri was on a reconnaissance lap to the grid, he ended up spinning on the exit of turn 4 and hit the wall on the opposite side, and the damage was large enough for him not to be able to take part in the Australian Grand Prix. So yeah, pretty disastrous for Piastri, spinning out before the race has even begun in front of his home crowd. So yeah, very disappointing for Piastri. And now McLaren team boss Andrea Stella has revealed more about the crash, saying that there were 3 factors that led to Piastri's exit before the Australian Grand Prix even began. Stella said, as quoted by Racing News 365, "When it comes to the circumstances, what we observe is fundamentally 3 factors. First, the cold tyres, and when the wheel spin starts, it starts in a very sudden way, and these compounds, with them being on a curb that he has used pretty much every single lap, they don't make this easier though when the tyres are cold, and this further compounds with an element that doesn't make it easier again, which is the fact with these oscillations and following the shift, there's extra torque, let's say, that when we look at the behaviour of the power unit, it's not something you would do unless, and which I understand is the case, there are some requirements that you need to meet in terms of how you deploy your torque. In testing, we might have seen similar circumstances, but we didn't have the combination of cold tyres and the curb, which aggravated the fact that you may have these inconsistencies from torque deployments in grip limited phases." And when Piastri was asked if there's a fundamental difficulty with the 2026 F1 cars and their aggressive torque delivery, Piastri said he received an unexpected amount of power from his Mercedes engine, but was also keen to shoulder a part of the blame, with Piastri saying, as quoted by motorsport.com, "We had a couple of things going on. I think the first part I want to stress is that there's certainly a big element of it that was me, cold tyres. I have used that exit curb every lap of the weekend, but I didn't have to. At the same time, I had about 100 kilowatts extra power that I didn't expect, which is not insignificant. The difficult part to take is that everything was working working normally. It's just a function of how the engines have to work with the rules. So that's the part that's difficult to accept. It would almost be easier in some ways if we just said there's cold tyres and I was optimistic. But when you add in another factor like that, it always is even more painful. But that's going to be the video from me today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. And until the next one, take care.